The man looked to be in his early 50s. The lines on his skin spoke less of age and more of consideration, as if he had spent a lifetime choosing care over cruelty. His posture was upright but gentle. Nothing about him felt intimidating. Beside him walked one of his closest confidants. They moved slowly through the older man's home garden as if he belonged in that garden, not because he owned it, but because he understood it. He moved slowly as his eyes traced each bloom as though he was counting old friends. His gaze softened when it fell on flowers. A small white flower had caught his attention. He leaned in, studying it for a moment, then turned to the man beside him and asked him in the way, "Tuagus irudemala doshimuta?" Meaning, have you ever seen an irudema? The question caught the companion off guard. I mean, of course, why wouldn't it? The flower was right there in front of them, in full view, quietly radiant. The man beside him smiled, nodded, and pointed at the bloom the older man was admiring. The older man laughed, playfully and entirely human. "Irumale denikoto shimuta?" he said. Meaning, did you really see the sun giving a flower? It was a simple joke, a play on words. Iro meaning sun and dema meaning giving a flower. It was a moment of ease. He loved those small moments, human moments, shared with those he trusted the most. The man I'm talking about here was Muhammad Fareed Didi, the last king of the Maldives. The ruler remembered for his gentleness, someone who found joy among gardens and laughter beneath the sun. Muhammad Fareed Didi was born on January 11, 1901. He was the eldest son of Atirige Abdul Majid Ranabandere Kilegifano. From his mother's royal lineage, Muhammad Fareed inherited not only a connection to the throne, but also the weight of centuries of Maldivian history. His early years were spent in the palace, a world of protocol and expectations. These formative years under the gaze of a proud lineage shaped him into a man who would later balance dignity with humility and ceremony with simplicity. Under the guidance of his grandfather, then Prime Minister Ibrahim Dashbena Kilegifano, Muhammad Fareed and his younger brother Hassan Fareed Didi were sent to Ceylon's Royal College along with their cousin Prince Hassan Izzuddin. Muhammad Fareed was among the first Maldivians to receive a modern English education. When he returned back to his home country, he stepped into an island of transition. He had learned the language of diplomacy and governance for sure, but the Maldives he returned to was a kingdom driven by political turbulence and uncertainty. By then, his father was the prime minister, and his maternal uncle, Sultan Muhammad Shamsuddin, was the king. Muhammad Fareed was given to lead the military, demonstrating discipline and respect for order. His intelligence and demeanor made him a natural choice for the next stage of Maldivian governance. In March 19, 1931, he became a member of the assembly tasked with drafting the Maldives' first constitution. Ratified by the king, the constitution named him President of the People's Majlis and the Minister of Defense. Formal titles that promised authority, but the reality was fragile. The constitution was torn apart by the people. Hassan Nuruddin became king and Muhammad Fareed Didi became the prime minister. And then he discovered that power was not always vested by title alone. World events and family dynamics soon further complicated his path. During World War II, the Majlis gave Muhammad Fareed's brother Hassan Fareed the authority over government decisions. On April 8, 1943, both King Nuruddin and Muhammad Fareed resigned from their positions, leaving a power vacuum. Later, his cousin Muhammad Amin Didi rose to prominence and Muhammad Fareed's influence further lessened. To complicate the matters, he was implicated in an assassination plot against Amin Didi, an accusation in which he apparently played no practical role in. But he was confined under house arrest at Mabagichage, allowing only registered visitors, and he was also stripped of political participation. The Maldivian political landscape remained unstable. Amin Didi transformed the country into a republic on January 1, 1953. The experiment lasted only 8 months. Vice President Elanage Ibrahim Mohammed Didi overthrew Amin and Muhammad Fareed consented to the change, dissatisfied with Amin's leadership. The monarchy returned and Muhammad Fareed finally ascended the throne. The Revolution Committee appointed Eggamuge Ibrahim Famuladeriki Legufano as Prime Minister, leaving the king with ceremonial duties rather than true governance. When Ibrahim Nasir became Prime Minister, he too held the same authority as Ibrahim Famuladeriki Legufano, and Muhammad Fareed's role became even more symbolic. He was a king in title, but the power to influence decisions lay entirely with the Prime Minister. Muhammad Fareed embraced his ceremonial responsibilities with grace, dignity, and quiet joy. He attended school concerts, hosted foreign dignitaries for tea, and traveled across the islands to present awards for local competitions like rope-making contests and things like that. On February 25, 1963, he became the first Maldivian king to broadcast a message via radio on the occasion of Eid. And a few months later, on the National Day, he recorded his own voice to address the nation, appealing the citizens to fulfill their duties in alignment with the Prime Minister Ibrahim Nasir's directives. These moments were small victories of connection, glimpses of influence in an otherwise limited reign. Muhammad Fareed's personal life was a fragile sanctuary against the relentless tides of political turmoil. Private world where fleeting joys softened the weight of history. But even here, sorrow was never far behind. He endured the heartbreak of 3 marriages and the unimaginable loss of his only child and the tragic death of his wife. These silent sorrows carried alone in the quiet corners of the palace, hidden behind a calm and a dignified public face that never revealed the depth of his pain. In the middle of his personal desolation, he sought to refuge in the small pleasures that offered him comfort. He tended his gardens with meticulous care, nurturing plants he had brought from distant islands, and he shared their blooms with friends as if he wanted to scatter fragments of joy into the world. Generosity became his solace. He used to carefully select gifts for those around him, offering what he could give with a gentle smile. He found peace in fishing with a traditional pole and having fried breadfruit from his favorite shop in Male. And he used to host evenings alive with rhythms of Tara, Langiri and Boduberu performances in the palace grounds. Moments of fleeting celebration in a life shadowed by grief. Even in ceremonial life, missteps could spark drama. One day, A gardener named Muhammad Ibrahim Kimbidu Sabe accidentally destroyed the tip of a rare plant, provoking the king's anger. Though Sabe left the palace in fear, Muhammad Fareed later dismissed the incident with kindness. He sent him 3 months' salary and even checked on his welfare in the market. Such acts reflected a man who combined authority with compassion and grace with humility. The end of Muhammad Fareed's kingship was as symbolic as his reign. Prime Minister Nasir sought to eliminate even the ceremonial role of the monarchy. Gradually, the grand palace was demolished. Its walls, the gardens, and the history attached to the palace was reduced to rubble. On November 11, 1968, the monarchy was officially abolished. Muhammad Fareed, the gentle king who had graced ceremonies and nurtured his people, lost the throne. The palace that had witnessed his life was gone. He retreated to Mabaghi, living in solitude as a man who had once been king, but now nothing but memories of gardens. One night, his health deteriorated sharply. Dawn found him unresponsive on a sofa. Attempts to move him to the hospital were nearly too late. On March 27, 1969, at the age of 68, Muhammad Fareed passed away quietly. A king without power, a ruler without a realm. He left behind a nation transformed, but a personal life marked by sorrow and bittersweet weight of history. Muhammad Fareed's story rests in a fragile balance between grace and humility, joy and tragedy, generosity and loss. He ruled without power, living not at the forefront of history's greatest turning, but in its long shadow. The world around him moved forward, loud and certain, while he endured it all quietly. In his death, as also in his life, he reminds us that a nation's progress surely can be victorious, but the hearts of those who helped shape it often carry a sorrow history does not record. Until we're able to unfold another tale beyond the sunny side, this is me, Tata, signing off. Stay safe and bye-bye.